All right. Hello. My name is Cheryl Murphy. I am the president of Karate for Change, and we're here to pretty much talk about success and how to prepare for 2024. We're here with Cameron Madani, who happens to be a U.S. national team member for 15 years, mental strength coach, master's degree in sports psychology, Pan American Games gold medal, World Games bronze medal, University world champion. I mean, you've just pretty much gone the gamut, Cameron. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. If we talk about success, I think, between your experience and myself, it's a pretty high standard. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of experience going
I
into that.
mean, let's not pat ourselves on the back, okay?
But a little bit. It it takes a lot of challenge to be able to achieve one of those medals, let alone, the four or five that, you have on your resume just as well as me. So it's we're here for it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, just to get one of those medals, like, let's kind of go back. Like, how was your daily regimen? And once you made the senior national team, what was kind of like the daily regimen, physical, and then we can get to the mental.
Yeah, definitely. I think the a layout it just got more structured, right? So similar to how a junior athlete is being taught more and like the Hubbard more, if you like, for lack of better words, with their coaches or their senseis and such. It was kind of similar like that for me. But then as soon as it got to seniors, the responsibility of the training fell more onto my shoulders. So like I'm lucky enough to have my parents be in the sport too, and so they helped a lot. But the structure of our training switched over to more like, hey, this is kind of like a partnership. You need to be responsible for your own development as well. We're not just going to keep, basically babying you again, for lack of better words. So the responsibility load was a lot, and I structured it to where I was still going to school, still working full time, and then being able to fit my two practices a day throughout the week. And so my physical training load would match what like the average elite Olympian is, and that's pushing in 9 to 12 practices per week, depending on where your load is at to get ready for a tournament. So that's kind of where I was trying to match as far as what I could fit within the schedule. Even if it was like a 30-minute session, I was still trying to fit it in.
And see, that's really important. I think, generally speaking, athletes may and coaches may even feel like if it's not an hour and a half, 2 hours of like just constant movement and doing something all the time, then it's not really, efficient or effective. As opposed to if you get a good half hour in where it hits where it needs to hit, then it will work. It does. It is a matter of just practicing and being repetitive. Do you agree?
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, you hit it on the head. There's nuances to all the different kinds of training, right? That's just a general statement. Everybody knows that. But then being effective within those nuances, and then depending and like adjusting it for person to person, right? And
Yeah.
so then where you get maximum like efficiency, maximum effort, and you're able to take advantage of those things. Because the reality is this: like for our country at least, one of the challenges we all struggle with is we're not a government funded sport to the point where I just wake up, I go train for 2 hours, I go take a nap, have lunch, and then I have another 2 hour practice, and then I go to next day. That's not how our society is, functioning for our sport,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's unrealistic to set that expectation that it's always going to have to be. And again, I'm speaking selfishly, but it's unrealistic to say, hey, each practice is going to be 3 hours long, and it's going to be structured like this, and da 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 da. But then on the flip end of it, I think that's what makes our coaches and some of our athletes so strong. I think it's one of our strengths is because, and I know for a fact, because we've trained in, basements before, you know what I'm saying? Like when you came to call, we had a session in a 2x4 mat space, right? And we maximize what we have, and being able to work through those situations makes us smarter, more resilient, and the whole list of things that comes with that, right? And let me think about this though. Just because of that story that came to mind, what's like a fun or like a challenge training story that you have?
Mm.
What,
That's interesting that you throw that at me.
I know. I was thought
I
about
mean,
that. Yeah, it's
it's,
just,
my challenges have been getting a lot of my challenges have been getting to workouts. Like for me,
mm,
and I've said this before, like for me, when I was training, it wasn't the greatest, it wasn't looked great upon what I did. I found people that would challenge me. Like I would have like my circle of dojo people, or even people that I train with consistently. But it ended up being where I needed more and to be challenged. And I liked the fact of being challenged. So I would have to travel. Like I would, travel and not many people understand what New York is about, but I lived in Queens and would travel to Mount Vernon pretty often. I'd have to pay, it would be like a 45-minute drive, both ways, tolls both ways. So I would go to Long Island. That would be another hour, hour and a half of time. So me like getting to training was always like a big thing for me. I've gotten stuck on the bridge. I've had to call AAA. Like it's been those types of things. Matter of fact, 2014, I will never forget this because it wasn't a good year for me. I did okay, but it wasn't like my best year.
Sure.
I would have to travel to go train, and my oil was leaking. My car was like leaking oil, and I pulled over somewhere, and it was like, well, how can I get home and it's still like the car won't die, but I still have to get home. So so you have to drive extremely slow. And then every so often, you may have to pour some oil in your car in order for you because it was leaking. And I had a 45-minute to an hour drive home. And I'm like, oh my God. So it took me about 2 hours. This is like the day before, I kid you not, the day before I was about to leave the 2014 Pan Am. Day before. And I'm like, so my mental was already like, woo, so I was like, all right, I have to be calm. I just have to pull over. It's going to take 2 hours. It's going to take 2 hours. As long as I get home, we're good. As long as I get to the airport tomorrow, everything is fine. So those were really my stories.